Welcome back to Business Agenda SA.
A huge proportion of government and large business spending is done through the process of formal tendering, and with that comes plenty of competition. Justine Northey found out what it takes to get a tender over the line.
Tendering for business can be seen as a daunting process, but it doesn't have to be. We went to the experts to find out their advice on how to compete for tenders and asked them, is tendering just the realm of big business, or is there room in the process for smaller players as well?
I think a lot of SMEs have the view that tenders are for big companies and to be responded to by big companies.
For many small businesses, they may see large-scale tendering as not something they want to participate in. They may not have that capability. For local government in particular, what it means is that we're actually not just looking for large players, and that can happen across a myriad of goods and services. Everything from relatively simple, what we call low risk, low value, high frequency goods and services like office supplies, for example, all the way up to really complex infrastructure developments that could be a bridge or a road or a building or something along those lines.
Tendering is a broad term, and in reality there are a myriad of different types of tenders.
Tenders can be known by quite a number of names and can mean quite a number of different things. There are formal tenders which are usually provided by the larger organisations seeking to tender, for example, for services or goods to be provided. You can also have somewhat more informal documentation such as expressions of interests, requests for proposals, expressions of interest being sought. Invariably you will use those documents where you might be a little bit more targeted in where you are going with your tender. A tender document is usually quite a thick and significant document, whereas an expression of interest or a request for proposal may be somewhat more informal in what's being sought.
When it comes to tendering, is there a correct way to tender? What are some of the tips that can help businesses get their tender over the line?
I think the focus has got to be on understanding the client and what their problems are. I think what we've found, and we do a lot of work on bidding to win in the government sector, is there's got to be a strong focus on building the relationship from the start, understanding your winning bid strategies, focusing on their solutions, but at the same time being able to put that in a really succinct way. Biggest challenge most tenderers have is they write too much and they don't actually tailor it for the audience. So you've got to understand what they're looking to achieve. You've got to meet their evaluation criteria, but at the same time, be really confident that your technology or your solution or your service is actually going to deliver on their problem.
There will be mandatory items to be filled out in what we call the tender response schedule. There are legislative obligations that we're looking for, like compliance with the Health, Safety and Work Act and those types of things.
You've got to showcase not so much your technical expertise, but your industry expertise. That industry expertise focus, I think, is the single biggest factor that differentiates a winning bid from a very average one.
Where possible, look to separate yourself, stand yourself out from the crowd, because you might be one of 100 people tendering for that job.
You've got to make sure that everything you put into the document you can back up and it's current information. Get it in before time. The most common mistake we would see is a courier wandering around trying to find the tender box. People just need to understand yes, it's a test, but at the end of the day, it doesn't need to be a stress test.
Things have changed in recent times, with many organisations allowing you to submit your tender online.
Online technology is becoming a very, very common way for all sorts of business to actually bid. It's actually a very efficient process, and that tender capacity, if we put local government and state government into that, you're looking at approximately $6 billion a year worth of tendering going through that type of process. It's always there. We're always spending because we're always servicing and supporting our infrastructure, providing perhaps new and different services to our ratepayer base as well.
It's a clear message. There is money to be spent. Don't let the tendering process put you off bidding for work for your business. As they say, you've got to be in it to win it.
Up next, Praki is still feeling under the weather, so Erica is back with her tips on navigating the social media jungle.